Hello there. I will be presenting my textual analysis project, my presentation, for my Communication 610, the Social Creation of Organizing class. Here we go. My particular project was about race and how it is portrayed in the media. Throughout various media outlets like television, movies, music, etc., we have subtle messages that give assumptions about certain races of people, whether they be good or bad. The way race and how it is portrayed in the media can influence employment or even immigration status, as we have currently seen today in the current Muslim ban and several news outlets covering it. The texts that I've analyzed are the Interpretation of Cultures, selected essays by Clifford Geertz, and Pam Geller's appearance, also known as the Islamization of America, from Fox News, adapted to YouTube by The Blaze. In studying this, I will analyze the Interpretation of Cultures and the clip from Fox News, comparing them to the human relations approach, which mostly dabbles in communication, as well as the rhetorical analysis methodology, which concerns persuading the public to a certain idealistic viewpoint. Looking into Clifford Geertz's collection of essays, it says culture, this acted document, thus is public like a burlesque hoodwink or a mock sheep raid. Though ideational, it does not exist in someone's head, though unphysical, it is not an occult entity. Behavior must be attended to, and with some exactness, because it is through the flow of behavior, or more precisely, social action, that culture forms and finds articulation. Geertz's argument in this work is that culture itself is an interpretation based on something that is strictly ideological, and that the only way to truly judge someone is by communication with them and how you are treated by them. This goes very synonymously with the human relations approach, which enforces communication and focuses on behavior. It also goes well with rhetorical analysis methodology because Geertz is trying to persuade his audience into this form of communication, which is looking at someone based on their behavior rather than their race or other things they can't control. Pam Geller, on the other hand, says there are thousands of jihadi groups all across the world waging war in the name of Allah. You can deny reality, but you cannot escape the consequences of denying the reality. She also says, every time there is a jihadi attack, Obama takes to the airwaves to stump forth to protestize Islam. He goes on to state that the Islamic State has nothing to do with Islam. If it has nothing to do with Islam, what is it about? It's all about Islam. Fox News does not even clarify communication or the human relationship reproach. There are no diverse people discussing matters on race to defend themselves. All are Caucasians and criticizing Muslims, without even attempting to communicate with the Muslims as the human relations approach requires. It goes on with the rhetorical methodology analysis because it is highly intended to persuade the audience despite disregarding the human relations approach. It's the opposite message that Geertz puts forth, and it is on a much more public platform, one of the top news outlets in America, which is watched by thousands upon thousands of people. So here are the conclusions that I have. Obviously, these two, they talk about the same issue, but they have very, very different ways of going about it. The diverse messages from these two texts are important because they show how radically different messages about race can be in the media, and how very persuasive both of them can be. It means people could be receiving the false assumptions about others wrongly based on their race. It also means employment for these people could be altered based on what the media tells them is true, regardless of whether it is or not. It can shape businesses and change lives for innocent people. If we ignore the obvious bias, we allow ourselves to be lied to. Organized communication can help us see through these differences in the media portrayals of race and why racial bias can be destructive towards certain groups of people, and how we should definitely look more into communicating with them as individuals rather than seeing who they are as a racial whole. None of them have, one identifiable agenda as a group of people because they are all individuals. So we must look into them as individuals and communicate with them as such. And are my references that I've worked into the presentation. And that's the end of it. Thank you.